things will be better in our country.
Well, thank you for that submission. Well, you sounded like a patriotic Nigeria there. So with you, with your submission, I believe we'll have hope on probably Nigeria getting better than it is already. But quickly, let's just get down to the business of the day. And then my first question will be to you, Barrister Chris. The Constitution of Nigeria, which is the template, the book, you understand, the Bible of this entity called Nigeria. If you're talking about keeping Nigeria's sovereignty intact, I think the first point of contact will be the Constitution. In your own opinion, being that you're a barrister, your knowledge with Nigerian law, what do you think the federal government needs to do in making some amendments in the Constitution? Let us begin from there.
Well, the word sovereignty, I don't know whether our audience actually understand the meaning or the guises under which it is used generally. You have a legal and political sovereignty. The idea of sovereignty is that every territory called a country has its own supreme law. It's like a king and a kingdom. Another kingdom cannot interfere with the affairs of another kingdom. So the idea of sovereignty is that it's an independent country, fully operational, fully guided by its own internal laws and other jurisdictions. So basically, the sovereignty, like Nigerian Constitution defines sovereignty to mean sovereignty is that power given by the people for our leaders to use to guide and protect us, our lives and property. You see that the Constitution is not at fault. Democratically, the power belongs to the people. The Constitution recognizes it in Section 2. But when you now go to the field, go to the practical lives of our people, are we guided by such that the feelings of the people, their aspirations, their anxieties, their daily lives and property, are they guided? Are they secured? Are we living the way we should? Are we better off under all sorts of operations of the law? Is the Constitution actually the ground norm? Is the rule of law the topmost priority? You find some deficiencies, a lot of deficiencies operating the Constitution in such a manner that people don't believe that the people actually participated in the writing of the Constitution. Because many things seem to be at conflict with each other. Powers withheld by the center, so to say, appears heavy-handed in such a way that many sections of the country, state and local government, feel like a small dog that has to go to the big dog to feed. If the federal doesn't release any funds, there are nothing to share and there's nothing to operate with. So there are basically some incongruous parts of the Constitution that will need to be retweaked and looked at if we actually aspire to be called a federation or aspire to be called a democratically elected country. There has to be secularity in such a way that religion doesn't play a role. There has to be a citizenship clause where everywhere you stay, you are deemed to be a citizen of that state or area. Those things are not secured, they are not guided and all that. You find that the extreme ethnicism is actually what operates and guides decision-making in the country. People now say, it is my turn, it is our turn, because we have our son as the leader or the president of the Federal Republic. We don't see him as a citizen of the Federal Republic because his dealings with the rest of the country does seem to always favor his own people. And therefore, each point in time, the people do not feel adequately to associate with a particular president because it's not of their own extraction. It is not their son. Those things don't work for integration, for inclusion. And then you begin to see ripples this is their country. Some people feel marginalized because the resources of the country do not filter in a manner and way to assure that we are integral. Certain section of the countries are integral part of the land. Some people feel that they are not protected, they are not given their due share, that their lives and properties are threatened, acquired, demolished, and revoked at will, even where other things are correct. And other people feel that they are targeted, that in the electoral process, in such a way that their vote do not count. These things are dual things, dual opposites, things that are opposite of the intention of what a constitution should be.
All right. Lately, the northern leaders and also the new Nigerian People's Party (NNPP) wrote a letter to the president, telling him to trade with caution as regards to the alleged signing of defense pact with the U.S. or the France. And now someone was actually interpreting it, Jibrin Ibrahim, one senior fellow of Center of Development, was interpreting it. He now said that actually, if the federal government should go and sign this particular pact, that is a profound threat to Nigeria's sovereignty and independence. Now, how will you react to this? And then again, what are the biggest threats to Nigeria's sovereignty as it is in our country today?
Yeah. You see that under the international law, embassies and other those articulated associations like a military base are deemed to be part of the home country that establishes such base. Just that you don't have a right to, your internal municipal laws will not enable you to enter a foreign embassy except on invitation. The same way that a military base is part of the country that establishes it. So under the rule of this sovereignty we're discussing, you do not have a right, you do not have the capacity to try to interfere. And when sovereigns of the establishing state is coming into the country, they don't need visas because they are deemed to be coming and entering their own country. So in places where you now have these bases, you will now ask yourself, how much far have they fared better than those who didn't have the military bases and all that? You can see what happened at Afghanistan. America had their military base there. You can see what is happening in Niger Republic. America has a military base there. They are now trying to establish another military base in Ghana or Nigeria. And what are the fallouts? The fallout is that it will interfere, weaken the sovereignty, their claimed legal sovereignty. It would, like you also know, that is what happens in those military bases are just satellite spy nation sports. FBI will take a position, interact with rogue coup makers, and the coups can happen without you knowing that it has a sanction or blessing of the home country or the establishing country. So there are moral and practical reasons where it will not be fine to say that we need a military base, a foreign military base, be it America or France. Why it will look fine in the first instance, it might not always end well. And what Nigeria needs is not a foreign-based military outpost. What we need is that for sovereignty to work, there are a lot of institutions that you need to build up. You don't become a sovereign state just by geography alone. You become a sovereign state where the legal imperatives, the rule of law, that the institutions are obeying the laws of the land, that there are no other considerations that are being made outside the aside the law, that the principles of separation of power is totally guiding the operation of the state. So when you don't have strong institutions like the military, the police, and such other military establishments, which are anchored on strict principles of military devices and strength, it is easy to corrupt such institutions and get them to compromise, thereby displacing the so-called sovereignty. When you have weak military, you have weak police that guards the security and peace of the citizens, then the country cannot say that they are legally sovereign.
But in the case of Nigeria, based on this insecurity that we are currently facing, wouldn't having a military base, let's say tenured military base operating in Nigeria, help curb this insurgency that we have?
The factors that have authorized the terrorism are internal. They are basically very internal. It was the late Abacha, the John Teman, who said that if terrorism lasts more than a month, you know that it's organized by internal forces. Well, what is terrorism that you cannot cure by your own internal institutions if all is well? Where if you talk that you are a sovereign state and some rogue forces, some what they call non-state factors, override you, establish posts in states and say this territory is not open to government of the land. Is it not a sign of a failed state? So where is the sovereignty? Because you have to be sovereign in all machinations. You have to be legally sovereign. You have to be politically sovereign. You have to be militarily sovereign for the whole ingredients to work. So it's not the invitation to establish a military base. It will not cure the terrorism because you didn't invite them to come and combat terrorism. They are there to establish their own internal interest so that if they have a problem of launching a military attack on any rogue state against any country or state, they can take off from our base. So when these bases are established, it's not to protect the country, even though they will have a pact they will sign. If you attack Nigeria, it will be seen to be you're attacking the nation that said. But has it worked in
Afghanistan and some other
not the Russian people, the country that Russia is fighting, Ukraine. Has it worked? The NATO people have bases all over the place, and they say if you attack Ukraine, be member of NATO, that is an attack on them.
It's not actually ratified that of Ukraine's.
So, see what is happening there. You can attack and you get away with it. So the fact of establishing a military base will not arbitrate the terrorism if our state institutions are weak, if our police are weak. These things are not military attack. It's a police thing. And our police have failed woefully in combating this thing. So if it is a national war with Cameroon, are you saying Cameroon will go and invite US to come and fight Cameroon? It's just the failure of institution. That's why we say, are we really truly sovereign in the sense that we have the capacity, the strength, the will to combat non-state factors like terrorism? If we cannot do it, then how do you now claim that we are sovereign? It's a claim.
Well, lately we've seen the president signing MOU with foreign countries, and then we have also see the loans that are being borrowed on a daily basis from IMF and also foreign countries.
My gosh,
now the question is, actually, how are we to ensure
push all of those by himself?
how are we to ensure that Nigeria's national interests are not compromised in international agreements such as this?
Yeah, the sovereignty there is also challenged, where loan agreement, because basically it's not the amount of loan that is actually the problem. It is actually whether your resources on which those loans are based, whether the economic statistics under which those loans are based, whether the home country has capacity, adequate capacity to factorize the loan over a stretch of time. That's the most basic point. And where state resources are attached to loans, that if there's a default, that the borrowing country can foreclose a particular state resource, like all they have, all the railway contracts under which China came in, are all against the interest of Nigeria. And you now say, while we are discussing economic sovereignty, you now see that our sovereignty is challenged by the type of loan agreements we enter into, where our properties or assets are foreclosed or featured in those kind of loan agreements. And then the interest of the country is not secured in such a way that even if there's a storm, if there's a challenge internally, our economics do not support us to meet with the, paying the loans properly and in time. A part of the country is run over, taken over, just like we have seen in some African countries where China have actually taken mineral resources of the countries, manning and operating state resources, just because loan agreements are made in such a way that justifies takeovers. So basically, you see that most of the loans we take are compromised. The people who negotiate and operate these loans do not do it altruistically. They don't do it with all the national interest or emotions that are attached to some of these nationhood. They are not accompanied with the loan agreement. So most of the loan agreement are faulty in such a way that the sovereignty of Nigeria is not guaranteed at each point in time, because state assets are basically mortgaged.
So now, talking about Nigeria, the way Nigeria is already factored economically, structured, geopolitical zones. And even before the independence, we had a system where we had different regional bodies operating and growing at their pace. If the sovereignty of Nigeria were to be so faulty that it can no longer stand, and we now decide to go our different ways, is it going to be a plus for the entity that was once Nigeria, seeing 3 or more geopolitical zones grow at their own pace? Or is it going to be, try it for a while and then let's come back and see if we can have that entity called Nigeria once again?
Because
nobody can predict actually the future.
Globally, some people have said, predicted that Nigeria will not exist beyond a certain period of time, and that period of time have elapsed, and Nigeria is still at least standing on paper. But basically, on a private capacity, I kind of think that the nation is not doing well under this configuration we have, under this weighty, extreme ethnicism that has actually colored and colored the way we put our food. A lot of programs are not anchored on viability and feasibility. They are anchored because it's a payback. Scratch my back, I scratch your back. It is our son. Then these people deserve a seaport more than the place where the seas are found. That's why you now see, you hear about dry ports They are doing dry port in Kano, doing dry port in Kaduna. And the places that have natural waters, they are not considering them in the configuration. So I think that our grandfathers and forefathers who actually put the architecture of Nigeria as a single country will be crying in their graves and saying that this is not what they thought. If you ask the nationalities that make up Nigeria about how they feel, they will tell you that they feel that time has come where we have to actually sit on the table and redesign Nigeria into its natural pathways. And of course, you have Oduduwa agitation, you have the Southeast IPOB and all the sections of it. The Yoruba people would like to have their own nation, Oduduwa. And recently you can see the uprising there, because they feel justifiably that they have enough endowment, enough intellectual and material resources to stand on their own feet. They have exposure to the Atlantic Sea and the oceans and all that. And then the Igbos also believe that they have the intellectual capacity, demonstratively given that they can stand as a nation, given all this manpower, given all these resources, even with a smaller land space, that they can stand and be counted as a country that has potential to overrun any other country in Africa. So I do strongly believe, and it's my personal thought, that staying together when it is unviable, the only thing that is viable is the material resources that we share, the petroleum and its resources that we share, and the monies that we convert. Some we convert to our personal resources, some we convert to ill-thought projects, some we convert to all manner of
the agitation for going our separate ways is not being felt across board, because the northern part still doesn't believe in. Rather, there's the middle belt part that want to be cut off away from the north based on this insecurity and stuff like that. So I think until all sides comes to the table and decide this is the way we want it, we probably will be having this overburdened nomenclature called Nigeria.
You have said it all. The point there is that the thought process is still futuristic, because a lot of water have mixed, a lot of mingling have gone across the board, intermarriages, businesses, network, and all that. A lot of things have mixed. That you wake up, you're in Lagos, you're established, and when somebody tells you about a breakup, a breakoff, another country, you would be on ease to support such. And when you come to the Igbo land, they are the most traveled, they are the most established in other places and in other. So the mere thought of coming back home, like having our own country, comes with an anxiety, adequate anxiety in the minds of the people. And the North, who benefit more largely from the pooled up resources, because it is in the sharing that you hear about land mass. It is in the sharing you see geographical challenges and all that. So they get a lot of advantage by their sheer size, in that even in the law, the constitution you have mentioned also support number of local government, population is always in their favor. So the configurations are in their favor. So when you have the big stake and you're holding the advantageous head, why will you like to give it up?
And then again, don't you think that some people will feel marginalized if we go our separate ways, owing to the fact that some certain areas are blessed with oil, our mainstay of the economy right now, and when we now say let's go our separate way, they'll feel like, what are we going to do? How do we survive?
Well, it's not as as easy as that, that you believe that resources from the petroleum byproduct will sustain a nation for an endless time. You now have the concept and notion that electric cars are coming to take over everything. That you have petroleum will not even guide or secure your development objective. Many countries in the world today do not have oil as their base resource. There's no part of this country that doesn't have one blessing of natural resources or the other. There are no part of the country who will feel marginalized in the sense that they have been given their own territory. I wouldn't support the idea that the Igbos will feel marginalized because we have a territory, we have a responsibility to use what we have to develop our place to look like other places that are developed. So the anxiety that maybe the Middle Belt will not support themselves or support itself, because one, the Middle Belt does not have exposure to the sea. They kind of feel that they are land trapped. Their territory is not exposed to international waterways. So they may have those kind of challenge. But there are other countries that are not exposed to the international waters or the sea, at least.
Saudi Arabia, for example.
Dubai?
Yeah.
Yeah. Until we begin to think outside the box of how to, make use of our natural resources. Till then, let's see how it goes. But right now, we want to bring the street walk, some of the people that we interviewed on the street concerning the topic we are discussing today. Let's hear what they have to say.
Security is a result of so many things. One, there should be justice in Nigeria. Two, everybody in Nigeria should be seen as one. Cannot be peace when there is no justice. A lot of people are not happy with Nigeria. A lot of people, including me that is talking to you, I'm not happy with what is happening in Nigeria, what is obtainable. So there should be a proper orientation, because if the rulers are doing well, the citizens have no choice to follow the leaders.
Honestly, no, even the okay come na dey come from what is good for the geese is good for the gander. So if you are in Nigeria,
I think we should put humanity first. When you put humanity first, you are first a human before you became anything. Before you become Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, you are first human. If you understand that aspect that you are dealing with your fellow human being, I think it goes a long way to really solve the issue of separatism. Also, we should start looking at competency. If you know someone that can get a job done, regardless of where the person is coming from, you should put the person there.
Intact from what it already is. But as Nigerians, we all have our own diverse opinions and everything. People born in this Gen Z era probably won't be knowing what we're talking about, but people born, just like Chris said earlier on, that people born in the 60s and 70s will definitely have a strong agitation for things to get better. And if not, let's go our separate way. We're still talking about the sovereignty of this country and if it's worthy being intact. The next question I want to talk about is that area of the one that bites every person, that is affecting us. 20 years ago, there was nothing like insecurity, bandits, terrorism in this enclave. Now we have it, and we are having it more in a particular section of the country before it now started trickling down to other parts of the country. Wouldn't that be a basis to even say, since we can't even secure ourselves as an entity, let us go our separate ways and then probably secure ourselves as a region? What's your take on that?
Yes, actually, I support the view that the cardinal principle of responsibility of a state is the security of lives and property. captured easily. If there are no people, there won't be a sovereign. The empty geography will not represent itself. So the protection of lives and property is always a cardinal point in any constitution, a national constitution to say. And when you fail in this plural objective of protecting the lives and property of your people, you have shot a deadly blow to the concept of legal sovereignty. And when this challenge is made, what it means is that it has toppled the ground norm. It has changed the moral architecture to still stay and claim that I'm a sovereign nation. What are you governing if lives have become a mob? If laws do not cure mischief and deadly conflict? If your law exists just on the paper? If your state institutions cannot interpret the law and operationalize the law? So what are you existing for? You have, by internal compromise, destabilized the sovereignty. And what should happen is that a broken plate can never be made perfect. The patchwork would introduce extraordinary architecture and design. So the country has actually come to a close in such a manner that we really need to not just talk to ourselves. We really need to face reality. There are countries that have broken up. All the Nordic countries, they were just one country before. Norway, Sweden, and all that. They were just one country. Lithuania and all that. They were just one bloody country before. In fact, some of them share such internal geography that you have to pass inside the territory of one country to access the other country. And yet they are doing remarkably very well. Remarkably very well. So the sheer concept of size, China and Brazil and India have utilized the sheer size of their geography and the population to economic advantage. But there are countries who are just 10 million, 40 million, that have done remarkably very well. So size does not determine, size no longer determine the potential of growth. What determines growth is the GDP. What does 1 unit of a human unit produce? If what are attached to the services you give to your state or your local government or your corporation to nothing comparable to another unit of man in America, then you now see that size does not equate, the population does not equate what it should contribute to the GDP. So what we're saying, or what I'm saying very strongly, is that the economics of our time would dictate that the smaller our units are, that it is easier to govern this country in its very smaller configurations of nationalities. Because one, internally, extreme ethnicism, nepotism, and such likes have tended to be the central consideration in decision-making in Nigeria from 1960. Who gets what is not determined by merit. Who is the most brilliant person in JAMB does not secure him admission.
Should that be?
And then there is guarantees in the Constitution that nobody will be discriminated against in in the face of the circumstances of his birth, location, where he comes from, or any kind of defect he may have, is guaranteed in the Constitution in the Chapter 4 of it. But you now find out that what guarantees how far you can go in this country is actually where you come from.
And who you know.
And,
Okay.
and your name.
Well, still talking about security, because to me that is the biggest threat to our sovereignty now, because it has translated to food scarcity and all that. Now, I remember recently when Tinubu met with Afenifere, telling them that he's going to, tackle those people that are posing a threat to the sovereignty of this country. And then we talk about insecurity. Before we had Boko Haram, now headers, and in fact, bandits everywhere in the country. Don't you think that if we can try one more time, talking about rejigging our security agencies in the country, put in the right people that can do this job? Because I know that people, you see some of these terrorists in some villages going to the market, buying food items, living with them. Our people know these people. Some of them, they are their brothers, their sisters that interact with them. Don't you think that if we talk about the state policing, devolving powers coming down to say, take care of your bushes, take care of your forest and all this, that, there will be a positive impact on our security apparatus in this country as it is right now?
I like the way you feel about this thing. Try one more time. It's poetic and deep. Trying one more time depends on altruism, the plainness of your heart. If you put the right person, the question will be, who is that right person? Where is he coming from? What is his name? Because in Nigeria, just mention your name. Your name identifies your ethnicity, identifies your race, identifies your address, identifies how far you can climb, and identifies where you can be admitted. Therefore, who is the right person? It's a central question that has arisen from your anxiety. One is that put Madueke in charge of that defense strategy, now defense proposition or objective to clear the terrorists in the northern part of the country. Put Madueke, for example, an Igbo man. Immediately he unleashes a coordinated onslaught. He will be disbanded and called home, or even decommissioned for using extreme force for a matter that requires extreme urgency and force. So we are back in a vicious circle that we cannot extricate ourselves from the web that has caught us. It is beyond theory that nothing will work, because the Boko Haram terrorism thing is actually a cultural uprising that many of the governors in the north support them with resources and acquiescence, support them by keeping silent, support them by energizing them.
For political gain.
For political gains. This is a country where people take permission from terrorists to visit their farms. And the calendar, there's a specified time to come and harvest your crops. A specified time where you will not come to those farms. I think that what should happen, the state police is not going to be run in a way that would say that there's a new king, a new hero. It's just going to be the same cycle of where do I come from. Even at the state levels, where you come from is also very important. If you are the brother to a governor, you are made. If you are a cultural person from the same town with him, you are made, provided you are on the path. If your brother becomes the governor of the state, actually you will probably become the MD sooner than later.
With my qualification.
With
my ranking, it doesn't work like that.
Well, I don't want to go to particular incidents in
then
our...
even the IG of police said state policing is not feasible as we speak right now in Nigeria because there are a whole lot of hitches and bottleneck to effectively make state policing work. So I think for the IG to come up and say that, I think we should even be talking about state policing because he has come up to say now, where is the resources? Nigeria is short of armed forces across Navy, police, military, and the rest of it all. So where are these good new recruits going to be? How long will it take to train them? What are the equipment that you will give to them? So the man came up and said that state policing, Nigeria is not ready for it right now. Probably meaning that we will continue to battle with this level of insecurity and the rest of it all that we are facing right now. Quickly before
I don't believe that the problem of state policing will be training and all those kind of resource management. It's not the point. The point there is the will. Is there any state that are in the southeast that are not running effective vigilante service? What is police again? Are they no more effective than the police? The basic point is not just that. What they should do is to decentralize the police hierarchy. Make sure you regionalize the police and have a small compact police system where you have now the federal police that will be in charge only in in charge of federal crimes. And what are federal crimes? Treason, trying to do things that challenges the sovereignty of the country, or dealing with arms, narcotics, such protected activities that you can now say that this is a federal crime. Every other thing is a state crime. Peacekeeping and all that. Decentralize the police authority. Decentralize the police hierarchy in such a way that even if you make it by ethnic location, that everybody from Igbo land would operate in Igbo land. Anybody from Oduduwa State will operate in the Oduduwa State. It's a point to start. Okay. Then the IG will only be IG for federal authorities, federal crime, inter-waterways crime and all that. Those federating things that we still have in the exclusive legislative list.
All right, Barrister, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. I really think maybe we revisit this topic another day because we still have a lot of things to talk about. But then we have another segment, and that's the sports segment on Breakfast Daily Show this morning, so we really need to go. Thank you so much for being part of the show this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, our viewers, for being part of the show this morning, this particular segment. My name is Chidinma Orama.
And I'm Ajuluchuku Okabwe saying thank you. Tomorrow we'll definitely get to do it again.